Jim Walsh is an expert in international security and research associate at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He's joining us now from Boston. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm a little bit confused. We hear Japanese authorities saying that no harmful material has been released, yet some radioactive, there's been an increase in some radioactivity. However, now the levels are falling off. What are you making of all of this information?
Well, you're not the only one who's confused. A lot of people are confused. I think, the government's under tremendous stress and strain, and I want to give them every benefit of the doubt. But the fact is they have not done a good job in their public communications, and their story has changed and changed over time and sometimes been contradictory. I'd say the two major developments today are not even that explosion near the reactor, around the reactor building, but rather the decision to try to pour seawater and boric acid into the plant that they're focused on right now. That is essentially waving the white flag. That means when they do that, that plant will be forever shut down, because once you pour seawater in, which has salt in it, and boric acid, which is not meant for that reactor will never start up again, and you only do that as a last resort. So I think they had hoped to get electricity in there and to get the coolant pumped in. That didn't work, so now they're at their last resort with that reactor. But the other big news of the day that no one's really talking about is that there are a set of plants at a separate site nearby, and in at least two of those plants, their cooling system has shut down. So the thing that has affected this first reactor to the point where we are today has now spread and affected at least one, maybe two other reactors nearby. So it's, deja vu all over again.
I wanted to go to this first reactor where the explosion occurred. That's the most serious situation at this point. We were talking to one expert earlier on today who said that pouring seawater could even be more damaging to the core of the reactor, and it's an act of desperation which will not work. What do you think about that?
Well, it's damaging to the reactor in the sense that the reactor will never be able to work again. But the bottom line here is they want to cool this down. And for whatever reasons, they're unable to pump water into the coolant system. So they're doing this, and they're pouring in boric acid in order to absorb neutrons to reduce the chance that this could go critical. So I think that's the right move right now. I don't think they have a lot of options. This is, classically considered the method of last resort. No one likes to do this, but I think it's certainly warranted if they have no other option.
And one last question. Can this prevent a meltdown? What are your concerns that there could be a catastrophic meltdown?
Yeah, you have to worry about it. I mean, that's where we're at right now. It's that that's sort of in play. Do I think that's the most likely outcome? No, I don't. The Japanese government is reporting that cooling is taking place, that less radioactivity is being generated. That's the latest word. Again, though, they've had problems with their reports, so there's a credibility issue here. But remember, unlike Chernobyl, this plant has a containment vessel. And the reason why there's this big concrete building that surrounds the reactor is if you do get a meltdown, then this containment vessel is supposed to contain the radioactivity and not allow it to breach and get outside into the environment. Now, that's the way it's supposed to work. Will it work? You don't know, and you don't want to have to test that proposition if you don't have to. But I would say, it's a dangerous situation, but it's still more unlikely than likely that we're going to see the worst possible situation.
Jim Walsh, expert in international security and a research associate at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.